Hi, I'm Brian, and today I want to talk about the top 10 albums in my collection that I didn't listen to last year. Okay, so that's kind of a weird idea for a video, but still, hang in there with me. You'll be involved. I'm going to immerse you in this video as we go along. But what I was doing, I was listening to on my walk the other day, I was listening to Steve and Jim's excellent podcast, Two Guys Talking About Records, and I think it's episode 79 when they were talking about how many records is too much and can you listen to all of your records before you cark it. And they used a system which said, well, what's my total number of records and what's the amount of records I usually would listen to in one day and divide that by that. And for example, if you had 365 records and you listen to one a day, it would take you a year to listen to all of your records. So I decided to take stock of how many albums I was listening to and how close I was getting to listening to them all within one calendar year. And in 2023, I tracked it all, and I tracked it all using Discogs. So I'm going to take this album for example. It's one that I've done a deep dive on before. I'll leave the link in the comments. But XTC's Mama, fantastic album. And there it is on screen, and you can see it lined up with all the other XTC albums. But if we move over to the right-hand side, where you can take the notes, you'll see that I've played side A twice, side B twice, but the last time I listened to this album was on the 15th of May, 2024. So that means we're coming up to 2 years since I last listened to an album I absolutely adore, XTC's Mama. Wow. Now, I didn't check for 2024 whether I was whether I had listened to all of my albums, but when we came to 2025, at the end of 25, I decided to check on that list, and unfortunately, I put another 200 or so records in my collection, so I'm just under 550 at the moment. But the amount of albums that I'd listened to was still down at around 320. So there's 230 albums, more than half of my collection. That doesn't add up. It's 40% of my collection. I'm great with numbers. 40% of my collection was not being played. And what is the point here? Am I a collector or a hoarder? Have I got a collection or a library? Those sorts of things. Thank you very much, BC, for giving me those ideas. And that got me to thinking, should I just cut down on the amount of albums I buy? Well, as I said, we like to buy records. It's fun doing that. Was space a major issue? Well, in my house, it's probably not an issue. I've got a number of rooms I can stick things. And if worse comes to worse, it could always be, pull down that ladder down from the attic, mate. We'll just put a few more up there. In fact, this is where we keep all our first editions, our OGs. Or they can be down in the basement with all the in the basement with the $5 bins down there, what have you. Space is not really an issue, but I do like to have my records set out near my turntable. And I like to use bin systems so I can flick through them just as though I was in a shop. It's part of the experience for me. And I'm not really a fan of being down on the floor looking for Frank Zappa in the Calex bins, going, where's Frank? Oh, God, I've done my knee here. My knee's going, oh, it's my hip. Oh, God, I don't want to do that. I just want to be able to serenely, dun, 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 dun. I'd pull out that record and saute or saunter over to the record player and stick it on. I'm also one of these people. I should talk about my bin system. So the majority of my bins, of course, for all the rock albums in my collection, but then I have sections with blues and psychedelic and jazz, Australian, post-punk, new wave, and also one bin dedicated to my two big buyers, I suppose, the Church and Underworld. I've got a lot of those albums. But after that, I also have two other types of bins as well. So the second type of bin is the currently listening to bin. And so they may be the albums that I've just picked up. They go in a bit, or, I've been flicking through, got to listen to that later. Not in the mood now, just a currently listening bin. I'm sure we all know what a currently listening bin. How about, do we all know what a bin is? Possible purges bin. The albums that I can't make up my mind about. So that's pretty full at the moment. And what's happened though, and I'm caught in this vicious cycle, is I pull those albums out only to evaluate, not to enjoy. So I'm going, should I keep it or should it go? And then I hear two songs off which I really love, and I go, yeah, I'll just put it back in. And so this horrible, vicious cycle continues. And so I'm left with an ever-building record collection. It doesn't kind of work for me. I'm also a person who does like a blind buy. So, for example, I'm not sure, I was in a record shop the other day. I'm not sure who told me about this album in the VC. I think it might have been Brian, the Embryonic Robot, but forgive me if I'm wrong there. And it was Propaganda's first album, and it's, what's it called? A Secret Wish. And I have always steadfastly avoided this album, and I don't know why, but I've never heard it before. But I thought, there it was a good price. I I'm going to pick it up and take it home. And the good news is on first listen, I really enjoy it. But I sort of also with blind buys have this attitude going into it that it's like going to your old video shop to rent a video or a DVD. You're going to take that home, and if it works for you, you keep it in your collection. It's not, the analogy's not holding up, but if it doesn't work for you, you've spent the money. It doesn't matter. Or you could take it back to that record shop and they'll give you a tenth of its value, and you can see it there every time you go past again when they've got it up for $30 or $40 as well. Is that making any sense? I don't like that. Anyway, so I'm fairly pragmatic. If I blow $10, $15, who cares? It was fun buying it. Anyway, so that's what we're up to. So this brings us back to the list of the 10 albums I love the most. It's a ranking, my first ever maybe. It's a ranking of my 10 most favorite albums that I didn't listen to in 2025. Because at the end of the day, you could say, well, it doesn't matter if my collection gets bigger. It doesn't matter if these records are starting to fall on my head, and I'm sort of scrambling around through a room like a little ferret, a little rat going, where's some fresh air? I've got to get rid of all this vinyl. It doesn't really matter. That's not going to happen to me. I don't know if this is making any sense at all. But the big problem for me is if I'm not playing my favorite albums, why the hell am I into vinyl again? So let's look at the top 10 albums that I have here that I didn't play in 2025. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a snippet, an audio sample of 5 to 10 seconds from that album, and see if you can pick the album that I'm playing, which is in my top 10. And at the end of each song, I'll give you, in some way, shape, or form, the answer as to whether you got it right and see how you go. Anyway, let's get on with that very soon. I'm just going to have a drink of water. Okay, so here we go. My top 10 albums that I didn't listen to last year. I don't know how I'm going to edit this and put it together, so it could be very amateurish. But then again, amateur hour is sometimes really cool. That's Joe Jackson reference, of course. Anyway, here's number 10. And of course, it's 5 Leaves Left by Nick Drake. I was going through one of these mega stores about 2 years ago, and I saw it for a decent price. And I thought, I'm going to have that as a bit of vinyl therapy. Love the album. It's absolutely brilliant, of course. Number 9. Might have been a bit tricky. I don't know. It is In the Wake of Poseidon by King Crimson. Often maligned for being too similar, son of In the Court of the Crimson King. I like it. It's got some progression in there and I really dig it. Number 8. All right, that's kind of interesting. I can't remember which song I put on there, so it doesn't matter. So I'm mugging away. You go, got no idea what's playing in my head at all. But this is really interesting because in the David Atkinson's wonderful, not so official vinyl tag that is up and running, this is my favorite female singer. And I have a feeling I haven't played it for a year. Now, it could be this one, disgustingly. It could be this one, or it could be my favorite of them. I haven't listened to any of them. But here's an interesting thing. For the last month at least, I've looked at the video clip, watched the video clip for Solitude Standing every night. Fantastic clip. I love Suzanne Vega. Okay, that was 8, was it? I think it was 8. So let's go on to 7. Here we go. At number 7 is To Be Continued by Isaac Hayes. Legendary. And my favorite of the early 70s are the big Isaac Hayes albums, particularly for the first side. Monologue, Ike's Rap 1, Monologue, Ike's Rap 1. Second song is Our Day Will Come, and the third is an incendiary version of The Look of Love. Let's go to number 6. Notice the editing skills here as we look at Immunity by Rupert Hine. Interestingly, I did a deep dive on this album, and I think I put in the thumbnail that this album may get no views. It's done okay, which is really great, but let me tell you, this album is getting no listens at the moment. God, I know this album so well. All right, I think we're talking about number 5 now. Never done one of these rankings. I understand why people get them So mixed up in the countdown of the numbers. Anyway, number 5. Let's lift it up a bit.
Señores y señoras, nosotros tenemos más influencia con sus hijos que tú tienes.
And of course, number 5 is Ritual. Oops. Ritual De Lo Habitual by Jane's Addiction. This is a bootleg album, but by God, I love it. It's one of my most favorite albums. Took me forever to get into it. And one day the penny dropped and I was like, oh my God, this is insanely good. Number 4. Now, there's no chance that my head is bobbing in time, not being able to hear the music, but I'm trying to get into it. Now, this is an album I probably mentioned, apart from The Blurred Crusade by The Church, probably more than any other album on this channel, and I haven't listened to it didn't listen to it in 2025, naughty boy, and it's Talking Heads' Remain in Light. What an album. Absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Anyway, let's go on to number 3. Let's make it a little bit more peaceful this time. Get me out of this. We're at number 3, aren't we? David Crosby's If Only I Could Remember My Name. If only I could remember the name. Somebody was playing it the other day. I can't remember who it was, but they never heard it. Somebody in the VC, they'd never heard it before, and they now realize. Robert Fitton had played it, which surprised me that he wasn't familiar with it. But incredible album, first solo album. Rolling Stone famously gave it 1 star in its first review. I think it's now up to 4 or 5. Which you get to everybody on there, from the Jefferson Airplane to Grateful Dead, etc. Neil Young, etc. Brilliant album. So peaceful, so beautiful. It's a go-to for a Sunday morning, for example. Okay, number 2. A formative album in my life. Can you believe that I haven't played this in a year? Pink Floyd's Piper at the Gates of Dawn. Unbelievable. What a gorgeous, gorgeous, amazing psychedelia. The pinnacle of British psychedelia, if you ask me, at number 2. There we go. So what's number 1? Well, this may depress you, but this is number 1. Yes, indeed. Leonard Cohen's Songs of Love and Hate. Wow, what an incredible album. Absolutely a dream. And I didn't play that in a year. I mean, I know that album so well that I should be restricting it to once a year. Like my favorite comedy album by Bill Hicks, Rant in E minor, I only ever play that once a year on Christmas Day because I feel that anymore and I'll just get too sick of the album totally. Anyway, so how did you do? Did you get 10 out of 10? 9, 8? Put your scores down beneath in the comments. It'll be really interesting to reflect on that. And it's been such a reflective opportunity for me to be thinking, here are my favorite albums, some of my favorite albums of all time, albums I need in my collection to give me that comfort, albums that I probably bought on vinyl, CD, maybe MP3, vinyl again, and they're not being played, But what I'm going to do is put them on the list for 2026 and get stuck into them because they've got to be heard to give me that pleasure. Reminding you that if music of any size, shape, sound, or Songs of Leonard Cohen gives you pleasure, then I'm not going to argue with your opinion. There are some other album reviews right there you can have a look at. I hope there's something in there that you can enjoy. But until next time, I hope you're doing really well. Staying cool. And bye now. Got to listen to some records.